Hi guys, Moo here once again. Getting a lot of little emails and personal messages about my recent tutorial I did on adding sound, or more particularly sound effects to bits of footage, live footage or stuff you've created. And people are rather taken by the little kind of text intro thing I was working on to demonstrate that. Now I actually made that in After Effects. So what I'm going to do for you today is I'm going to quickly show you the main effect I used for the kind of shattering thing that takes place during the promo. And it's very straightforward, and it's always nice to put people in the right direction. A lot of people have After Effects, but it's like most things when you get it, what do you do with it and where do you start? So the way we're going to start off here is we're going to go to the Composition menu, select New Composition. I'm going to leave this on what are my defaults for this part of the world, which is PAL, and 720 by 576, which is standard DVD size. Everything else is okay. Don't want it too long here. I reckon probably about 10 seconds would do us. So we'll just make that like that, and 25 frames per second is perfect. Click OK. Default layout here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to double click inside the project area here. This will open up a little import file browser, and here's an image I snagged off of Google, or rather Google Images. I forget what I was typing in there. I think it was fantasy wallpapers or something like that, and this one caught my eye, as it were. So I'm just going to bring that in. That pops up in your project window here, and mine was called Freaky Eye 11. It's a JPEG file. You can see a small preview just here in the top left hand corner. Now in the composition window, comp 1 is already open, and it's already set, as I say, at the 720 by 576 pixel default DVD size. And I say this is purely for demonstrating the effect here. So what I want to do is I want to click and drag the image and drop it into the composition window just here. And I'm just going to scale it down a little bit so we can see it. Now the resolution I'm working in actually in the composition viewer here is quarter. I simplify it a lot easier as I'm scrubbing through an animation, but it's not having to render at full resolution all the time. So I have mine set for quarter just for the demonstration here today. Now we can go about and resize this image using these little boxes here on the frame. If you wish to resize and keep aspect ratio at the same time, hold down the Shift key, and what that will do for you, as you can see, it just keeps the aspect of the picture. If I let go of the Shift key and then move the frame around, I can actually do some weird things with it, and that is a little bit scary, has to be said. So I'm just going to make it just slightly larger than the comp there. There we go. Now the next thing I need is the shatter effect. And the quite big question is, how do we find it? Over here on the standard workspace, I've got a little tab called Effects and Presets. And the easiest thing to do is, what I find, if I find I want to do an effect on something, an image or a piece of footage or something like that, or a sound for example, and what I will do is I'll think of some words that might describe what I want to do. Now what I want to do here is I want to shatter this image, so I thought, why not type in shatter, and there it is. It pops up under simulation, and all you have to do is click and drag this effect over this image. It'll snap to the center by default and let go. Now don't panic, something weird appears to have happened. Well, in fact, two things. First off, there's a strange kind of brick wall sitting here with a big circular thing with spokes in it, a bit like a wheel. And over here in the Effect Controls panel, I have the effect here, and this little twirly arrow is open to show me all the settings for this particular effect. Now, just so we're not all panicking, if we head straight for the View entry here, at the moment it's showing wireframe, and all these are the various forces that are going to be applied during the effect. If I click and hold and then move up to rendered, ta-da, our picture is back. The effect is sitting there on top of the image, it's just I can't see it at the moment. Now if I do scrub through the timeline a little bit here, you can see what's about to happen is that image is going to break up into like house bricks. Okay, now it goes up and disappears around, kind of around here, so I think my composition is actually a bit too long. Let's come down and make it about 4 seconds. And the easy way I like to do that is if I drag this bar down to around 4 seconds and then go to Composition and trim comp to work area. Here we go, it's now made it about 4 seconds long. Scrub up and down there. Okay, what can we do with this effect? Well, obviously this is not looking like it is in my little intro promo I was working with in Vegas there. But you can do some things with it. And the first thing is to twirl down the shape setting here, and under the first entry pattern I've got a whole number of presets in here. What I used in the intro was actually glass. The default glass looks like this, got little bits of triangle, and to me they're looking a bit uniform size wise. It kind of breaks from the middle and kind of spins out towards the camera and then starts to drop down like that. So there's a couple of things wrong with that for me, which is the pieces are not thick enough, they're not dropping quickly enough, they're far too big, and they're a bit too uniform looking. So how do we fix that? Well, first off, I'm going to hit the repetitions entry just here. I'm going to click in there, and I'm going to type something stupid in, like say 20. Hit enter, and just a quick shortcut there. If you tap the 0 key on your number keypad on your keyboard, it'll generate what's known as a RAM preview for you, which means it'll temporarily render your project into the RAM memory on your PC. So the more of that you have, the better. And you'll notice this happening down here on the timeline. When I press this 0 key, you can see a little green bar building, and if we look up here at the render, you can see it's rendering the image, and as soon as it's completed the 4 seconds, it'll actually play normal time for you. And there we go, it's just playing through a couple of times, and it'll keep playing until you press the 0 key again. So it's starting to look like what we need, so I'm just going to hit 0 on the keypad again. That'll stop the render, stop the preview, and return me back to 0 seconds. Now I'm going to look at the extrusion depth. Now what this is basically saying, or a complex way of saying, is how thick the pieces are. The default setting is 0.2, so let's make that 0.8. Just hit enter there. Now if I scrub through, you'll start to see that the pieces have some thickness to them, so it makes it a little bit more 3D looking. Okay, there's a couple of things still wrong with it. I need to look at the kind of gravity, because as I say, it's kind of blowing out and coming towards the camera and then very gently dropping off. I want that to happen quicker. If I go to physics and twirl that down, there's a couple of things we can change in here. First of all, the gravity default setting is 3. Let's make that 6. Hit enter. Let's do a quick RAM preview of that. Now that seems to be exploding and dropping off just under the 2-second mark, which is a bit better. Okay, and what we're going to look at now is the viscosity. So I'm going to change from 0.1 as a default to 0.6. Hit enter. Quick look at that. And you can see immediately what the viscosity is doing. Instead of the individual projectiles kind of blowing apart, they're kind of gluing together a lot more and slipping down. So I've changed it to a ridiculous number just to demonstrate that. Obviously it's too much, but if we make that more like, say, 0.25, what I'm looking for here is I'm looking for enough of this setting, this viscosity setting, to kind of keep the pieces together so they don't all disappear off the edges of the frame, and that's looking pretty good there. Okay, stop the preview. Feel free to have a play around with the other various settings here. It's very, very straightforward. The effect will work on still image or video footage. Bear in mind, on moving images like video footage, it'll take a lot longer to render for your final result, but very, very well put together effect. Lots of options to play with. Every time you play with it, you come up with something different, but it works very well because it's got this built-in glass effect here, so it just begs for a kind of a breaking glass sound effect. That's how I made it, so have some fun with that, and I'll be back with a short tutorial sometime in the near future. Thanks, guys.